She'll just take questions right away. We're going to preview the meet at LSU this weekend. We'll start with Tom. He's the first one in here, and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah, Jordyn, just a general update on the team. You expect to get any more routines, any athletes back this week?
Great question. It's been, interesting 3 weeks. I will say that it's like, COVID we're not one of those teams where we all got hit at once. It's slowly making its way, through the team, which has, posed some challenges. But, we are moving forward, and those that are in the gym training are continuing to push and continue to improve. And, really happy with where we were after, last Friday's meet, and hopefully, next week this week will be, an improvement from that as well.
Okay. And, LSU had the postponement last week. Do you just get daily updates from them, and do they look in good position for this meet?
Yeah, I mean, so far they've said that they are good to go. And so have we. And so I think I can feel for every coach right now in the NCAA. I know it's been tricky, and, in a sport like gymnastics, when you get hit with COVID in a 5-day quarantine, it doesn't sound all that bad, but, once you get back in the gym, you don't just jump right back in with your endurance. You don't just jump right back in with your skills. So it takes about another week to get back to normal. So I think every program is dealing with a little bit of that right now. I know we are, but I keep reminding myself, it's still January, and the goal is to be at our best with our, top 6 in the lineups towards the end of the season. And some different athletes are getting experience on events that maybe they wouldn't have if we weren't dealing with COVID right now. But, the team is keeping a good attitude about it and just putting one foot in front of the other.
Okay. Well, in light of everything that you just said, I mean, scoring 197.2 last week, what do you just feel about the state of the program right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling really positive about where we are. Couple, really was curious to see how Leah would do in her first collegiate competition. And, she can do much better, but I was really proud of the way she went up and hit 4 solid routines, and she's capable of much more. So I think she just needed to get her feet wet and get out there. But being in the 197 range in the second meet of the season is something that Arkansas Gymnastics has never done. And I looked at that meet and thought, there's still a lot of places that this team can get better and clean up, and they know that as well. So that was hugely motivating for them to get back in the gym on Sunday and keep pushing, keep getting a 0.5 better. I always say, let's get a 0.5 better today, but, looking at the scoreboard and seeing that we lost by 0.5, I think it just, kind of proved my point that, if we just keep pushing and getting a 0.5 better every day, then we will be a better team on each Friday.
Yeah. And then it was the floor landings, I think you mentioned after the meet. I guess it was frustrating that you've been so strong on the floor, and you could have closed the meet out if you'd landed better.
In some ways, yes, but our team, they went out and they did good routines. I know that's one of the major areas that we can clean up. But the reality is, a lot of our athletes are doing more difficult skills than we've done in the past. Leah mounts with a pike full in, which is an extremely difficult E-level pass. And so it's not easy. And then she does 2 other double flipping passes in her routine. It's way more difficult than it probably needs to be. But, I think that's what that's a result of. And Bailey, she came back from an elbow surgery and hasn't had a full preseason. So she's still figuring out her first pass and getting it to feel back to normal. So the issues that happened and the landings that weren't maybe what they have been before, it makes sense. And we know what we need to do to get back in the gym and work on those things and improve from one meet to the next. And then I look at athletes like Savannah Panizzi, who scored her career high 9.875. And that was a huge highlight. And Maddie Hickey always being really consistent and steady for us on floor. And Sarah Schaefer being in the lineup for the first time. And there was still a lot of highlights. And then a couple athletes that I know can get a little bit better.
Thanks, Jordyn.
Jacob, we'll turn it over to you.
Jordyn, any update on how Cammie's doing?
She is unfortunately going into surgery tomorrow. She tore her ACL, which is, super unfortunate and a huge loss for us. But, my heart goes out to her, and she's still just, she's going to be an important team member for us. She brings just a super high level of energy and fun in the gym. And I know she'll continue to do that through the recovery of this injury. But just super bummed for her. She had a great preseason, was looking awesome, so ready to compete. And it was just kind of a fluky vault for her. And it's just the reality of our sport sometimes.
First college meet that she got to compete in, just what do you tell her about that to keep her morale up going forward?
There's not a whole lot that you can say to make that any better. And I just hugged her and said, you know what, this sucks. And it really does. And there's nothing that I can say that doesn't make it suck less. But I did tell her, you're going to come back from this stronger. And this is going to give you a whole different level of motivation and in an approach to a surgery recovery. And that whole process is extremely mental as much as it is physical. So I have no doubt that she's going to be even more motivated to approach the recovery process with just an elite level mindset. And I mean, she's still a freshman. She's got a long road ahead of her, and I know she'll get back. I know she'll be better than ever.
On a lighter note, you guys had such a great crowd the last 2 weeks. Just what are your thoughts on hitting the road and going into another tough environment, but for the opposing team?
Well, one of the things we talked about with the team after this past weekend was, what great mental training that was to have, over 10,000 people in the arena, because that's the way it is in every SEC arena for the most part. It's going to be that way at LSU. It's going to be that way at Florida. And, it's a skill for our athletes to be able to focus and dial in and do their normal routines with all of that noise, both literal noise and figurative noise, meaning distractions. So we talk about that constantly. And we have a very, very confident team. And I know that they know what to expect going into LSU. And I anticipate that they will just go out and do their normal routines and do what they're capable of doing.
Cool. Thanks, Jordyn.
Thank you.
Not sure who we've got in here from KNWA, but we will turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you, Jordyn.
Thank you.
Porter, do you have any questions for Coach Wieber?
Yeah, just what's the mindset been on the team coming off one of the biggest meets, finally getting to perform at Bud Walton and that huge turnout, the crowd, and then just come up short there in the last rotation. What's been the mindset this week, kind of like piggybacking off what Jacob said, going into an environment that, they're setting season attendance records themselves. So you're going to the same environment, but the opposing team.
Yeah. We definitely talked about that when we got back in the gym. I think this past week's meet has really, it's been two things for our team. It's been a huge confidence booster. And I told them immediately after me, I said, look at the scoreboard. And I'm not talking about looking at what our score is compared to the other team, but where we are right now in January. And and then I also tell them to me, and our sport is not set up for wins and losses. Our qualifying score for the postseason is based on our team scores. And so we're constantly, no matter what team we're going against, we're trying to beat ourselves and continue to get better. So although, a half tenth, it's kind of like, it's hard. It's difficult because a half tenth is literally one wobble on beam or one step on floor. It's like I said earlier, it's a good reminder of, you constantly have to push yourself to get a half tenth better from 1 week to another. And it's been a confidence booster, but at the same time, hugely motivating for our team. I mean, they were more motivated in the gym this week than they were last week, because I think that their confidence is up. They're ready to go on the road. They're ready for a road challenge at a big SEC, opponent. And, they're excited to get out there and compete. And I also told them, it's going to be a very similar environment, only everyone's not going to be cheering just for you guys. But they're mentally tough. I know they can handle that. And I know that we're going to stay in our bubble and do our thing and get in there, do the job and leave.
Well, and I'm following up, do you think there was so much anticipation in this meet? Was there a little bit of added pressure of performing such at a high rate? You knew you were going to break the attendance record. Now they've kind of got that monkey off their back, that meet over with. Now they can really focus on SEC meets now.
Mhm. Well, I mean, that was one of the things I was looking for on Friday, was how this team would respond to how much excitement was surrounding the meet. We talked about it a lot, and we can say all the things as coaches, but they really have to apply it. And so seeing the way they responded to that level of excitement and support was really reassuring, and they were able to take an additional level of pressure and utilize it and do their best performances. And I mean, look at our bar team, 49.55 in the second meet is competitive with most of the top programs around the country. So that's really reassuring as the head coach, to see that they thrive off of more pressure, because that's exactly what it feels like in the SEC championship. It's exactly what it feels like at regionals. You have to figure out how to take additional pressure and use it to your advantage instead of letting it get to you and shake you up.
Thank you, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Coach Wieber? All right, well, thank you everybody for being here. We appreciate it as